The end of the year is the perfect time to reset not just our homes, but our minds too, so that we can start the new year with extra space, with a sense of calm, and with a fresh, uncluttered outlook. We'll have more room in our homes, we will have more peace in our lives, and just more experiences and adventures and memories. Let's go! How's it going? It's Laura and Festive Jack here. Today we are going to be clearing out all of the crap, both physical and mental. And you will have plenty of time to do it before the new year rolls around. The great thing about this is that, you know, around this time of year, generally what happens is most things are adding to your to-do list, whereas this decluttering is taking away. It is creating space, both physically and mentally, so that you can start the new year with energy and purpose. So you can breathe easy. First up is one of those intangible things. It's probably the thing that I used to struggle with the most. I used to be a huge resolutions person, and I'm still very much a new year person. I still love that idea of a clean slate. I'm still excited by all the possibilities that the new year brings. I still love that fresh start feeling. But I don't set 1,000 goals like I used to, which means that these days I don't suffer from guilt or frustration or disappointment over unfinished goals, or at least not as much. Look, I'm still human. I think that resolutions we set at the beginning of the year are almost always doomed to fail because we set them with starry eyes. You know, we imagine that we're going to be this super disciplined person. We are excited by the prospect of a new year. We feel that we're going to be full of energy and motivation, and we just generally forget that life has a way of lifing. Plus, a year is such a long time. It's like so much can happen in the space of 12 months. You are never the same person at the end of a year as you were when you started. So it's only natural that you would have different priorities as the year goes on. So if you didn't accomplish every goal or resolution you had for yourself this year, that's okay. You still made progress. You still, let go of some things that were no longer serving you. You still did the best you could in the circumstances, and you still made it to this point. You don't have to worry that January you set a goal that just didn't make the cut. Instead, write down what you did get done, the progress that you made, the small wins that you had, the things that you're proud of, the things that made you smile. Not achieving a certain goal that, let's face it, was probably meaningless to begin with does not mean that you still didn't have a successful, fulfilling, exciting, incredible, and transformative year. Now, let me be clear here for this next one, and this also affects everything else on this list, by the way, but what you see on social media is probably not normal. It's probably not what the average person is doing or achieving. When you see perfectly decorated homes, massive houses that are covered in twinkly lights, a laden down table, set with this huge feast, when you see people who are laughing and smiling and having a great time together, and they're all wearing matching pajamas probably, that doesn't necessarily reflect reality. But I know when you look at that, it's easy to feel like you are falling short in some way. Listen, in my house, I can tell you that ordering pizza on Christmas Eve is very much tradition. Wrapping presents with whatever scraps of paper we have left over, also pretty normal. Me tearing my hair out because that wrapping paper then ends up just everywhere, along with the bajillion things that have come into the house that I am trying to keep as uncluttered as possible. Also standard. Another thing that's totally normal for us is the kitchen just being a disaster. When my husband cooks in it, he does make a delicious Christmas dinner, I have to say. He's a very good cook in general, but not a clean cook by any stretch. All that stuff, messy house, wrapping paper everywhere, gifts, toys everywhere. That's just all normal. Let go of all of that pressure to have the perfect holiday and just embrace simplicity, silliness and sanity. What you do this year sets the standard for next year, whether consciously or subconsciously. So choose joy, choose meaning and connection and contentment. Choose peace. Here's a little spin on an old classic. Be kind, unwind. Bonus points for you if you could tell me what the original phrase was. Okay, and this is probably the best time of year for this next one. I cannot think of any other time, maybe one that is on par with this time of year, which is kids' birthdays. But kids are going to be so much more motivated to declutter some of their stuff when there is a big event on the horizon and they know they're going to be getting lots of new stuff. They're excited. You know, they are motivated to make some extra space. They're too focused on shiny new things, you know, and a lot of kids actually really like that idea of gifting, re-gifting something to another child, or leaving it out for Santa, who can like fix it up in his workshop and then recirculate it. And donating stuff before Christmas instead of after is really going to help out a lot of families. You could even choose a donation day where everyone in the family chooses a few items to declutter. I feel like this is a good one because it gets everyone involved and it kind of leads by example. So it's not just a case of like forcing your kids to get rid of stuff, but everyone is doing their part. You're showing your kids that everyone is following through. It also just feels kind of very official, you know, when you have a donation day. You could make it a tradition. I mean, for us, we kind of don't have a specific day where we declutter, but I'm thinking of making it a thing. Just having one particular December donation day. Now, every single year I tell my husband that I think we actually need more of this next one. And every single year his eyes almost roll right out of his head because the reality is we don't. When you are putting up your Christmas decorations, ask yourself if you still really love them. I've noticed over the years that I love having a decorated tree. I don't always love, you know, the thoughts of decorating it, putting it up, putting all the decorations on, but I do like having a decorated tree. That's just my thing. What I don't like is having to put up decorations all over the rest of the house or anywhere else in the house. That does not bring me any satisfaction, or at least not the same level of joy and satisfaction. What does not bring you joy to have to do or to have to decorate? What has seen better days? What are the things that seem to be left in the box every year? You know, after you pull everything down from the attic or up from the basement, what are the things that just end up staying in the boxes? I know for me, when Sam and I first moved in together and, you know, I was decorating our first tree, like my first tree, the first one that basically didn't have my parents' input, I just went out and bought a whole bunch of cheap ornaments, and that's how I decorated the tree, and that was great at the time. But obviously over the years, actually I still have a lot of them, but over the years some of them have broken, or I have just replaced them with more meaningful ornaments that I have collected on our journey through life. So maybe the same is true for you. You have some older decorations that you're just kind of keeping around for no particular reason. You can let go of those. Remember when we talked about those expectations? I feel like we can be expected to decorate every room in our homes, you know, every surface, every nook and cranny. But if that doesn't make you happy, don't do it. Donate the stuff, get it out, give it to someone who will enjoy it. I need to practice what I preach on this next one because I had a look recently and things are getting out of hand. I never met a gift bag that I did not like. If I am gifted something, I am definitely keeping the bag, or if it was wrapped, I am keeping the wrapping paper. I'm not one of these people who just like rips through wrapping paper. No, it all has to be carefully removed. I swear I am still a fun person, but it has got to stop. Right now I have more gift bags and gift like tissue paper then I know what to do with. It is definitely time for a de-stash. This also includes accessories, so things like tags and ribbons. Challenge yourself to use up what you already have on hand. I call this natural decluttering, just using up what you have on hand. I know it's tempting, especially because the stuff is so cheap, to just pick up a few rolls of wrapping paper every year. You may feel like, you know, all of your presents have to match, like the wrapping paper has to match, or each person has to have their own specific wrapping paper. But you don't need to do that. Like I mentioned, in this house, we just use whatever we have on hand. But I do need to get serious about the gift bags in particular this year. So I'm going to make an effort to either use them this year or get rid of them. Here's another one that is perfect to declutter at this time of year, because realistically, if you are not using this thing in the coming weeks with all of the holiday parties, festivities, dinners, etc., you're likely never using it. I am talking about kitchen gadgets and seasonal cooking or baking items. You know, all of the roasting dishes, the trays, the serving platters, the food mixers and blenders and all of that sort of stuff. If you use it, great. If you only use it around this time of the year, consider storing it somewhere else so it's not taking up prime real estate in your kitchen for the rest of the year. But if you don't use it for whatever reason, donate it. Someone else will really appreciate it. Now, there is very little that is worse as a parent than your child getting a new toy for Christmas and it needs batteries, and even though you have a drawer full of them, you discover on that morning that they're all dead. Go through them now and get rid of them. Also, that new phone that you're getting for Christmas, you can let go of the old one, including all of the chargers and accessories that came with it and the box. I know you've been keeping the box. Ditto for any new device that you get this year, any sort of new electronic item, any new appliance. I don't know who's getting appliances for Christmas, but if you are, let go of the old stuff. Safely, of course. Dispose of that stuff safely. Speaking of old stuff, what are you doing with all of that outdated media? I am talking DVDs, CDs, VHS, cassette tapes, floppy disks. Making myself sound old. Now, if it's sentimental or you still use it, by all means, keep it. But be realistic with yourself about whether you will ever use it again or ever could use it again. If you can't play it in some way, it probably shouldn't be taking up valuable shelf space. I know it's not always exactly the same, but there are digital copies of pretty much everything these days. You can probably find your favorite childhood film on some streaming service or be able to download it from somewhere. Or that album that you listened to on repeat as a teenager. What was it for you? When you see how easy it is to obtain a digital copy, it might make it a lot easier for you to let go of the physical copy. These next two then are two-parters. So let's start with gifts. And let's face it, you've probably received a gift or you are about to receive a gift that you just don't like. It's just not to your taste. The reason for that, or the level of dislike, doesn't really matter. What matters is that you shouldn't keep something out of a sense of obligation. Now, I'm not going to pretend that there aren't exceptions to this. Sometimes, yes, it's easier to just keep something instead of constantly having to field questions from a family member or whatever about, you know, where it is and whether you like it and when, you know, how often you're using it. But if you know that they will never ask, or if you know that they'll ask like one time and then never again, you can declutter that. The second part, though, is one that just isn't talked about, and that is just in case gifts. You know, it's those bottles of booze, it's those bath sets, it's all of those things that you keep around just in case you need a last minute gift. Now, it's probably okay if you have only just bought them and there is a limited number of them, but if you've got some there that have been sitting there since last Christmas, you just go ahead and get rid of those. Donate them. Don't let the stuff that you truly love be smothered by the stuff that you don't. Don't allow guilty feelings to basically hold you hostage in your own home. Okay, the next two-parter, and I'm very proud to say that I do not do either of these. In fact, the first one I have never indulged in, just never went there, cut it right off at the source, no regrets. Holiday cards, hear me out, I never send any. I do keep a few kind of like cheap ones on hand to give to my kid's teacher or kid's bus driver, you know, school bus driver or whatever, or the postman, things like that, if I'm gifting a gift card or cash or something. But I do not send any. Now, I know that might be a step too far for you. I know that some people actually enjoy sending cards, and I personally enjoy receiving them. But reevaluate who is on your list. Maybe you don't need to continue sending a Christmas card to that girl that you worked with years ago. Like, maybe you can just send her a digital card instead, or some form of digital message. Or just in general, you may not need to send quite so many, because let's face it, it's not cheap. Like, by the time you buy all of those cards or organize the photo shoot, if that's what you're doing, like a little family photo shoot, or you order them online to be printed online, by the time you buy all the stamps, expensive. And that's before you get into the idea of the time and effort and energy you're putting into it, and maybe the waste that it's creating. Pare your list back to your close connections and the people that you want to stay in touch with. And the second part of this then is cards that you actually receive. So here's what I do. If it is from a close family member or friend, I keep it and I recycle the one that I received from them the previous year. So I always have the most recent card from them on hand. That is only the case if it is a generic store-bought card. If you have, you know, captured a family photo or something, I do keep those. For everyone else, their card is very much appreciated. It is displayed all throughout the holiday season. I put up all of the cards that we receive, but then once the season is over, they get recycled. It took me a long time to learn this lesson, but you do not have to keep every single card you ever receive. I know. Not even in the hopes of, you know, making a craft with them someday. Keep the most recent and the most special only, and keep your list manageable and meaningful. Now, obviously the overarching theme of a video like this is to give you more breathing space. It's to help you get rid of things that you don't need. I have covered some physical, kind of tangible things. I have covered some intangible things, more mindset things. But here's one that's going to make your season, your whole season, feel a lot calmer. That is to declutter your schedule. Make space to actually enjoy the season. I don't know why we run ourselves ragged when this is supposed to be a time of peace and rest and connection. Politely say no to anything that does not align with one of those things or with how you want to be spending your time over the holiday season. Ditch the overwhelm and the overload, and let's actually make it a true holiday. Remember that small decluttering steps can really make a big impact on your home, but also on your mental clarity, on your sense of peace. Having said that, you do not have to do everything on this list this year. You don't even have to do everything on this list next year or at all. Choose the one that you think is sucking the most time and joy out of your life. What is it for you? I think for me, it's probably expectations of that like perfect holiday, perfect new year. Set aside a few minutes when you are well rested and tackle that one thing. Or you just weave it seamlessly into your daily routine. The more decluttering you do now, the easier life is going to feel. I speak from experience. Now, if you're thinking, you know, that's great, but I'd actually like to dive a little deeper. You know, I am really ready for a clean slate. I am ready to start the new year fresh. You are 100% going to want to watch this video. Until then, Carav Mila Mahagwev. Agus Veki Me Shifta Galua. Slán.